During an interview on The Breakfast Club, Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crocket had some thoughts on extreme MAGA Republicans like Marjorie Greene and Lauren Boebert. One of the freshman stars in the Democratic Party in Congress is Jasmine Crocket. She's produced some fantastic moments in House oversight hearings where she calls out the nonsense of the GOP at their own hearings. And I came across this moment from an interview she did with Charlemagne the God that came out yesterday on The Breakfast Club, where she didn't hold back in her explanation of extreme MAGA Republicans and specifically called out the absurdity of their attempt to portray Joe Biden as corrupt and of being the leader of the Biden crime family, as they call it, despite there not actually being evidence of crimes. Here it is.
That's why you go viral when you call the GOP out and call them a bunch of asshole Republicans. What you did.
Yeah.
Why did you do that?
Because they are. What you mean?
I know, but what was the specific thing that made you, that triggered you that day and said, nah, I'm tired of this shit?
Yeah. When I sit there, the oversight committee is where all the drama is. This is where the impeachment inquiry is. And, it's insulting that we have idiots like Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, Jim Jordan. I mean, you just name all of the nonsense Republicans, and they sit on this committee and they sit there so high and mighty and they talk noise constantly. And they're like, oh, the Biden crime family. And I'm like, I'm sorry, have you met the Trumps? Like, who is it that's in court every single day or every other day with something, whether it's the fraudulent businesses that he's run or whether it's his criminal issues on the state level, on the federal level, and you're trying to make something out of nothing?
And that's it. And it's interesting, she said that it's crazy that they'd talk about the Biden crime family, despite no evidence of crimes on the part of Joe Biden, when Trump is currently involved in 4 criminal cases where there actually is evidence of criminality. But in reality, it's actually because of that fact that they're spreading nonsense about Joe Biden. It's because Trump has allegedly been engaged in so much criminal behavior that they're accusing Biden of all sorts of baseless things. It's because so many Americans perceive Trump, rightfully so, as potentially a criminal, that they're trying to portray Joe Biden as a criminal. I'll keep saying it, but this is the whole point of the Biden impeachment charade on the part of Republicans. It's an attempt to level the playing field going into 2024 for Donald Trump. Now, of course, the part of that clip that caught everyone's attention was her calling Marjorie Greene, Lauren Boebert, Paul Gosar, and others idiots, which reminded me of this moment from former Republican Congresswoman Liz Cheney.
What you've done in our politics is create a situation where we're electing idiots. And so I don't look at it through the lens of is this what I should do or what I shouldn't do? I look at it through the lens of how do we elect serious people? And I think electing serious people can't be partisan.
And I know to a lot of people the term idiots comes off as sort of juvenile, but let's just say we too often aren't electing our best, to these important positions of power. In the case of MAGA Republicans, we aren't electing serious people who have a serious interest in governing. It's about chaos politics and these political stunts and owning the libs. And we could at least have a shot at solving so many more serious problems if we just stop electing those sorts of people into power. And I'll come back to, again, when Democrats had the House for the first 2 years of Biden's presidency, what did we see? Just really pause, especially if you're center or center right, and think about this. There was an actual commitment, even if you disagreed with the outcome of the governance, a commitment to serious governance. We saw a list of legislative achievements that were historic and more achievements than we've seen in a really long time. The American Rescue Plan, Infrastructure Law, Inflation Reduction Act, Chips and Science Act, the PACT Act, etc. When you combine those and look through how much that's doing in the country to solve actual problems as we've gone through extensively in the past, it's actually pretty remarkable. An actual, meaningful, impactful policy record. which we just aren't seeing from extreme MAGA Republicans. You haven't seen actual policy achievements in the Republican-led House. So if we want to get back to actually solving problems, step one is to vote out extreme MAGA Republicans. Now, while we're on the subject of Jasmine Crocket, I'll remind you of a couple of her most viral hearing moments. This one, of course, somewhat recently got her a lot of coverage.
As I prepared, I said, what is the crime? Because when you're talking about impeachment, you're talking about high crimes or misdemeanors. And I can't seem to find the crime. And honestly, no one has testified of what crime they believe the president of the United States has committed. But when we start talking about things that look like evidence, they want to act like they blind. They don't know what this is. These are our national secrets. Looks like in the to me. This looks like more evidence of our national secrets, say on a stage at Mar-a-Lago. When we're talking about somebody that's committed high crimes, it's at least indictments. Let's say 32 counts related to unauthorized retention of national security secrets, 7 counts related to obstructing the investigation, 3 false statements, 1 count of conspiracy to defraud the United States, falsifying business records, conspiracy to defraud the United States, 2 counts related to efforts to obstruct the vote certification proceedings, 1 count of conspiracy to violate civil rights, 23 counts related to forgery or false document statements, 8 counts related to soliciting, and I could go on because he's got 91 counts pending right now. But I will tell you what the president has been guilty of. He has unfortunately been guilty of loving his child unconditionally, and that is the only evidence that they have brought forward. And honestly, I hope and pray that my parents love me half as much as he loves his child until they find some evidence.
And then you have this, and Lauren Boebert had just gone after a witness in a hearing pretty personally, and so Jasmine Crocket responded like this.
This is recognized for 5 minutes.
This committee runs my pressure up. And I do come prepared to committee, and then there's always somebody from this side that does something ridiculous that throws me all the way off. So, oh, Jesus. Okay, so this is where we're going to start, Ms. Kaskin. First of all, let me apologize because that was uncalled for. So let me do what she would never do, which is to be an adult in this room or in this chamber. So let me start there. I'm also going to start with some nonsense that she was trying to spew. And unlike Ms. Boebert, I am legally trained, and I've passed a few bar exams. And I also legislated before I got here, so.
And I'm pretty sure that was the hearing that Lauren Boebert stormed out of, if you remember that debacle. It seemed like for a long time, there were all these Republicans who would bring the heat, and Democrats would sort of play softball. But now we have a group of Democrats like Jasmine Crocket who brings the heat. And that's good to see. Before we go, don't forget to become a member at lukebeasley.com/membership to get a daily bonus show Monday through Friday. Plus, follow me on Threads at Luke Beasley Official, Instagram at Luke Beasley Official, X at Luke P. Beasley, and sign up for the Beasley Brief, a daily morning newsletter that summarizes the previous day's events by going to lukebeasleyshow.com/brief. And I'll talk to you all next time.